Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we get to the heart of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Tarkin Mummert.
I'm Jerry Porter.
And we are joined again by our old friend Heather Antos. Welcome back, Heather.
Hey, it's been so long.
I know. I hope you had a good night, good day.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I have to ask, because it just popped in my head. Getting to the heart of Temple of Doom, is that pun intended?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. We have
Good.
Pete to thank for that one.
Good.
And this is minute 52. And minute 52 begins with Indy hitting his attacker in the head with a spittoon or maybe a chamber pot, we're not sure. And it ends with Short Round witnessing Indy hang the attacker from the ceiling fan.
At the beginning of this minute, you get a nice view of one of the murals behind Indy. And I like it because there's a thing on it that looks like a bullseye, like a blue bullseye between two of the guys. And there's a space between two of the men. And it looks almost like it's meant to be stand here. Like it's for a thuggy assassin to come and stand right there. So it's like you've got your spot marked out. And so this seems to be a regular thing.
There's so many ways to kill people in their guest rooms in this palace.
You know, I'm thinking, so Willie comes out and we have another scene with the ugly American bellowing in the palace again.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just doing this constantly. And I don't know, no wonder nobody likes us as tourists.
Yeah. The guy who was like chatting her up at dinner and explaining all the desserts is like, he's down the hall just being like, shut up! Shut up!
Yeah, I hate Disney World too.
Yeah. And she proves here, this is something I never knew before. I never really thought about it, but you can't, it's impossible to roll up silk pajamas.
Silk sleeves. Yeah, she it's so.
Yeah.
It's so comical though, because it's that whole like 1950s sitcom. You're angry, you roll up your sleeves, and I mean, I give Kate Capshaw credit though. I mean, she was into it. She almost missed her mark. You see her step forward and then step back.
Oh, it's funny.
She almost, it's like, is she missing a rolling pin?
Yeah, really. Yeah, she's missing them up.
She needs a rolling pin. She needs like a frying pan in her hand, like something.
It's terrible.
I thought it was a sort of a commentary on maybe like an existentialist view on life, because it's a very Sisyphean thing. Like she keeps rolling up the sleeves and they come right back down.
Well, as she leaves too, she like hikes up her pants. Like I don't know what's going on there.
Well, so I mean, does that mean that like there's no amount of anger that's enough, Pete? She keeps rolling the sleeve up and it comes back down, and you have to roll it back up and anger again. It comes back down. It's like.
But there's a reason why that anger is coming out right now, because this is another great Star Wars minute. Because as you notice, Willie comes out and she screams, "This is the night I slipped through your fingers." And when's the last time we heard someone in Han's life being angry and talking about that? Is Princess Leia saying, "The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers." Almost the exact same.
The more
phrase.
floozies will slip through your fingers.
And then she says, "Sleep tight and pleasant dreams," which makes me think that he's almost conscious there that he's in a carbonite dream.
It's very Mulholland Drive.
She says that, she says slip through your fingers, and then they very pointedly show a shot of Indy's fingers.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like horror shot. Like this is like an 80s horror film all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror, I mean, some of the gargling noises here are just disgusting.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Again, if you listen to these minutes with headphones on, and you really pick up a
Yeah.
lot of
Oh, it's tough.
disgustingness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, Willie says, "I could have been your greatest adventure," and that made me think. So if adventure had a name, would it be Willie Scott?
No.
Wow.
Indiana Jones, maybe, but
Yeah. She comes across very, like, I mean, this isn't the first time. but
she's very
especially
humble.
yeah, she's very humble, but she's also like a 15-year-old girl in the scene, which is maybe why Indy was kind of into her. Sorry.
Oh.
But like the whole, like, it's one thing to be yelling across the room at him. That's obnoxious enough. But then like I could have been your greatest adventure. Like, there's no way he's hearing that, but she's being dramatic just for herself. Like, she's doing it into the mirror or something. Like, I'm in the middle of a really upsetting romantic thing and stuff, and I'm going to write in my diary about it.
I'm
Roll
gonna
up my
write my
sleeves.
Well, I was thinking about that line, and I mean, do any of you guys ever feel like you could have been someone's greatest adventure?
All your questions make me sad, Jerry.
That's kind of, I love asking them because, oh no.
Define adventure.
Well, I mean, just, look, she said, because the reason I'm asking this, is because, are we supposed to identify with these characters? You think, oh yes, I understand that. I understand that angst. There was that evening last Tuesday where I could have been Marie's greatest adventure.
Really? Do tell.
I'm just wondering. I mean, they say that it's a very clear line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, are we supposed to be like, oh yes, I've felt that way?
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about every Willie moment in this, especially when she's covered with the bugs, like all of these. I relate to her 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love what I love about my co-hosts is they never answer the questions.
You ask really weird questions that take a while to kind of think about.
No, that's true.
What
I
is
like
my dark light? Let me think about that.
And you always feel, because like, I don't know how many episodes, that probably about 10 or 15, there's a Tom, what? It like drops in the middle of the floor like Willie's head off the bed. It's like, what?
Or just the awkward silence, like 4 or 5 seconds
Yeah.
of silence. Yeah.
I gotta respond to this.
Look, we don't really talk about this, but I'm saying, I mean, in the minute, it's like one of the most important lines of the minute.
Yeah, but it's also a weird line, also because you can tell that it's supposed to be, oh, Indiana Jones, that could have been his greatest adventure. You haven't seen the adventures he's had. He's Mr. Adventure.
Yeah.
But like, does she even know that he's like a guy who has a lot of adventures or something? I mean, I know she fell out of an airplane with him and stuff, and but like, has he said like, oh yeah, I found some dinosaur eggs. I've had a lot of adventures. Yeah.
I think she's a little too preoccupied in her current situation to really care about anything that he's gone through.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's almost like fan service. Like,
Yeah.
it's like they're winking to
Absolutely.
the audience. I mean, she could just as easily have said, you really missed out, you dig?
You lost out on the character arc where you get to make out with me. Arc.
I mean, look, it's a hell of a thing to say about yourself.
I just got it.
I didn't think it was gonna be that hard.
It is. It's a very strange thing to say about yourself.
That's what I mean. Like she's like
It's
a
a weird
teenager.
line.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Maybe we should start using it more, though.
Yeah, maybe.
You could try to bring it
Well,
back.
and if you feel that way about yourself, like you're other people's adventure.
Yeah. You might not be.
Yeah.
If you have to
I
say
know.
it,
You
might
might.
not be.
Yeah, you might just be like a lousy Carnival cruise.
If adventure has a name, it probably doesn't tell you what it is, because that wouldn't be very exciting.
Where you get norovirus.
Hey, I have an excellent. Speaking of Indiana Jones, who's in the scene, and he uses his
Okay.
whip. Is this the second time in movie time? From Raiders to this, is this the second time we've seen him use the whip as a weapon?
Well, technically, timeline wise, this would be the first time we see him use his whip as a weapon.
Yeah.
So.
But as Indiana Jones fans in like 1984, yeah. And I didn't even realize this at the time, but I think Scott Roseanne or somebody, whoever's in Cairo with us, when they get attacked, Wendy's like holding them off with the whip and stuff. He doesn't really hit anybody with it, I don't know, but but like that's like the one time I think in Raiders that he actually uses it as a weapon against somebody.
It's unbelievably violent though. Like the guy groans after he whips him, and it's so violent that Shorty even has to turn it like he winces.
Yeah.
I love all the insert shots of Shorty in this minute. They're really good. They're very effective.
Before that even happens, like Shorty kind of like he's asleep, and he kind of wakes a little bit with a start, and he kind of puts his hat up, and he's like kind of does that. He shakes his head like, "Oh, there's Dr. Jones again." But it makes me wonder. Like it sounds like this is something that happens all the time.
Right. That could be.
He's very formal about it. He's like, Dr. Jones, your whip.
Your whip, sir.
Yeah.
This is what you taught me to do.
Right. Yeah. I'm earning my pay.
So I kind of want to walk through this for a second. So when he does pull out and whip so the guy elbows Indy, he ducks down, and then the guy's trying to escape.
Yeah.
Is that right? Right? Okay.
It's a little weird.
And then Indy punches straight down, and he has no leverage, but it's still making that massive like gunshot whip sound when he punches the guy.
When he has no leverage. And the guy like runs away, and when Indy goes to whip him, is he trying to contain him? Like, get back here? Like as like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat or something? Like, is he, because the whip like connects with the assassin's neck.
Yeah.
I guess Indy's that good of a bullwhip handler.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I buy that.
Yeah, adept with
and
the
then,
whip.
but what I'm trying to figure out is then the assassin grabs the whip, and is he trying to pull Indy towards him at that point? And does Indy purposely throw the whip up into the fan, or does Indy just let go of the whip? And
it's
it
weird
happens
because,
to.
Yeah, I think that when he whips him, he's just trying to keep him from getting away and to attack him. And I think the guy is pulling it to just get some slack so he doesn't choke to death. Like that's him pulling like himself closer to Indy. But it is the weirdest part is Indy doesn't. It's not like he sees the fan and goes, "Oh, I know," and like tosses it up there or something. He just kind of does it. So you're like, is that what he was going to do the whole time? Like, did he have this? Was he that calculated? Did he know that was going to work? Like, I wouldn't assume that,
He might have done this before.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Well, we know he does it later, because when he gets the whip out, you hear a little hint of the Raiders March.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then this ends kind of like Pat Roach there with the propeller on the plane. You get the same kind of buzzing sound, like the same.
Right.
Yeah. And Shorty winces away, just like Marion does in that scene.
Yeah.
In the propeller.
But what happens to him? Does he get chopped up? Like, does his face get chopped up, or does he just get strangled?
Oh,
I
this
think
guy?
he just gets strangled.
Yeah, he just gets strangled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just dangling.
Because it makes such a it makes that propeller sound like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly like when the camera's right there, just to kind of like,
I also think that's kind of the international sound of a neck breaking.
Right. It's a
You know what I
celery
mean?
stalk with plastic resin on it. Yeah. But yeah, I like this ends. I think the very last thing you see in this minute is Shorty wincing, like at the sight of the dead guy. And you're like, gosh, like how much of this has this kid seen? Like, Jerry, I keep saying like, oh, it's kind of nice that they got this paternal thing going, this father-son thing, and Jerry's always like, I don't know, I'm not kind of into that. And I'm like, at moments like this, I'm like, gosh, I should probably be worried about Shorty. I don't think this is going to work out all right for him. He's not going to come out of this unscarred.
And he even has to close his eye, like he squeezes his eyes closed.
Yeah, he's a little kid. He doesn't want to see that.
Yeah. Well, I think they try to frame him as being sort of resilient,
sure.
But it doesn't. I mean, like if he's 7,
Right.
He's 7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, oh, he's seen a lot. Like you get the impression that by the time he's 7, he's had a full life. Shorty's seen a lot.
Of death and destruction.
Yeah, the streets of Shanghai, and he had bad news with his parents early on, whatever. But I don't know. He's 7. It's interesting that we have the garroter chokes.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Ultimately, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hoist on his own petard.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You live by the.
It's beautiful poetry, is what this is.
It is.
Yeah.
Ring theory.
Well, I have this just in from Professor Christy Porter.
Oh, get your headphones on. Write this down.
This is what happens when you cross a monkey eating bad dates with a garrote wielding palace guard.
What do you get?
Minute 52.
Hey!
Whoa!
Yeah, the fan and the whole thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of dressed like him too. Yeah.
So yeah, if you watch these sequentially, like in the order like that they take place in time, that's almost a callback to this.
Right, and this time, we're getting the view from the floor, looking up at the fan.
Right.
Does that make Saul a short round?
No, it does not.
Yeah, I can never do all those. Like, does that make Belloc, Grand Moff Tarkin, and I can't do all that, man.
Poor Jerry. We'll go easy on you.
One thing I'm a little surprised you haven't mentioned yet, Jerry, is the thuggy assassin is wearing an absolutely beautiful outfit.
He is.
He is.
Yeah.
He's got this gorgeous maroon robe and the blood red shirt with the black stripes.
It is. If you're gonna assassinate someone, do it in style.
Yeah.
Do it looking good. And you wonder, is that did he dress up for that, or is that just his everyday wear?
I think he was trying to blend in with the mural. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Do you think he had to come in and study the mural first and be like, all right, well, there's a guy wearing blue and there's a guy wearing like a sort of a chartreuse.
Yeah. I was the tan guy last time. I'll be the maroon guy.
I want to know, like I said, was this guy at dinner? Like, is he staying at the palace?
Or is he just like a guy that works downstairs?
Yeah, I was gonna say
like as soon as dinner was over, the Maharaja like phoned down and said, "Hey, come on up."
Exactly. It's a little confusing. All the people at dinner, I guess, are living in the palace. I guess.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, do they all have rooms right down the hall?
Beautiful rooms with gorgeous murals.
Yeah, they're all wide awake now because Willie's been.
what color linens do they have?
Yeah. What sound do they make when they fall out of bed?
These are the questions that don't get answered.
Right. Not nearly enough.
Is this like the beginning of Wings of Desire, where like the camera can float into any room in the hallway and you get a different adventure?
You get a different adventure.
One can only hope.
Now I want Peter Falk to be in this movie. But I say that about every movie, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, we should ask you. Like, you've made your opinion of Willie known, but what's your general? Like, I guess the easiest way to say this is, how would you rank the Indiana Jones movies? Where does this fall in your estimation of the Indy movies?
When I was a kid, this was my favorite one, hands down.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think as a little kid, I loved Short Round, and like the absurdities that are in this movie are just so vast. Mm-hmm. That like, it was just fun, as a kid. I just remembered the scene with the bugs, or the guy getting his heart ripped out, or, Short Round saving the day at the end with Indy when he's possessed or whatever. So I think I really liked this one the most as a kid. But now, like, rewatching it, especially today, and just how all over the place this movie is, it might have fallen a little lower on the totem pole, but it still holds a high piece of nostalgia in my heart.
That's kind of how I feel too. It was huge in 1984 for old Tom Taylor, and I still like it.
It's chock full of action, which is not that Raiders isn't or the other one isn't, but this one really, as we've discussed, it's like there's so much nonstop action that they had to put a few, slow down, quiet buffer scenes in. And so
With Willie screaming.
With Willie screaming. So if you watch it as a kid, it is really nonstop roller coaster.
Yeah, it's nonstop. But then, like, when you watch it as an adult, you're like, none of this stuff makes sense. Like,
Why doesn't this nonstop movie just stop?
Well, I feel like Spielberg's thrown a lot of punches with this movie, and maybe not all of them land. But it seems like he takes a lot of chances that I think are really cool in this movie, and he does a lot of things that are just like weird and like you don't often see in a big budget movie. Like there just going to be a lot of things where he takes some risks and takes some chances with the story, and I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, too, I think part of what makes it interesting is, if you take into account that when George Lucas was writing this, he wrote it to be like such a dark movie, and Steven Spielberg is like, well, we gotta add some humor in this. So there's nice juxtaposition that sometimes works and sometimes just makes it a little weird.
Yeah. Watching it this time, I'm like, they talk about this being the dark, upsetting one, but I think it's much weighted more in the other direction, like just kind of goofy, kind of slapsticky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird.
I don't know.
They may have overcompensated.
I was thinking about that specifically with this minute, and watching the guy, hanging from the fan with a broken neck and looking up at him, I thought this is pretty dark.
That is, especially for 1984. Like that's very dark. His death, this whole fight scene.
And even I don't know what it is, but the bullwhip around the neck is just kind of like, damn. You know what I mean? I don't know.
And the whole thing's being witnessed by a 7-year-old kid who's just standing there in absolute shock. And he just
then at first, you're kind of like...
The kid handed him the weapon. The kid is an accomplice in this scene.
That's true.
That's true, but he's kind of paralyzed. Like, he threw him the weapon because he didn't, like, whip it out himself or, like, pull out a gun and shoot him or, And so
in a court of law, he's still the accomplice. You can defend it however you want.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I think that he's sort of also paralyzed in fear.
Yeah.
And just like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Yeah. His toss of the whip could be just more like, oh no, my other dad is going to get killed now. I got to do something. I got to arm him. I lost my parents. I lost my elephant. I can't lose this guy.
Well, my comments make you sad? I lost my other dad now.
Well, no, he didn't. You're supposed to be happy now. He didn't get killed. Everything's okay.
Yeah, he saved him.
Yeah.
Once again, Short Round is saving Indiana Jones. Once again. The real hero.
Is it weird that we don't have a Happy Bill?
There's just sort of a general comment. There's a lot of times in movies where the backwards headbutt seems to save the day.
Yeah. I could see how it would too, like the back of that skull to like a nose or something. That's effective.
I just imagine like you're just giving yourself a concussion over and over.
Yeah. And his back hurts. Poor guy. He's pretty beaten up.
He had quite the adventure that night.
He did.
Quite the adventure.
No thanks to Willie.
Was it with Willie?
Yeah. Take that. Well, maybe we can find out what Willie thinks about this next minute. Heather, thank you again for joining us. I hope you can come back tomorrow and see what happens next.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
All right. Until then, where can people get in touch with you and find out what you're up to?
They can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Heather Antos. Antos is how you spell my last name. And come follow me. But on Twitter only, not in real life.
Yeah, it's 10 feet. What is it? 500 feet, 500 yards, whatever the distance is.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know.
I'll pin the paperwork to my Twitter profile. So.
All right, perfect. Some people need that. Chair, what do you? How do people get in touch with us and stalk us?
Well, my favorite way is if they were to call our Indiana Jones hotline, which is 724-LOST-ARK, and leave a message. Let us know what you think. Have you ever been anybody's greatest adventure, or did you slip through anyone's fingers? It's okay. It's all right. You can let us know. And also, if you go on to Facebook, you should join us at the Indiana Jones Minute Listeners Crusade, where there's all sorts of discussions. dating all the way back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we talk about all sorts of stuff. Monkeys and fans and femme fatales and garroting, so please join us there.
Please do.
That was creepy.
Every one of those is an excellent idea, including this next idea, which is come back tomorrow for minute 53 of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Adventure had the wrong name?
How do you follow that?
I'm going to let that slip through my fingers.